The federal ministries are key instruments in bringing about good governance in a democratic system in order to attain and achieve purposeful, workable developmental policies, initiatives, programs, and projects under the dynamic and proactive, able leadership of the federal ministers. Let's look at their performance chart on the ministers' platform right away. We'll be right back. Since it's all about articulated facts, figures, and authentic news report about developmental situations across federal ministries, agencies, and parastatals, let's welcome you to Ministry News. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Ali Ibrahim Pantami, has reaffirmed the federal government's determination to reverse the trend of importation of all types of telecommunications products, especially where production in Nigeria is possible. Professor Pantami, who spoke at the first Indigenous Telecom Content Expo at the Landmark Center in Lagos, emphasized that the government has put efforts together towards the protection of the telecom industry, which contributes impressively to the GDP by insisting on the drastic reduction in the reliance on foreign products. It consequently warned against importation of such products like SIM cards that can be produced in Nigeria.
The percentage of importation to the country was worrisome. And in order to support our economy and consolidate the gains of the sector, there was a necessity of promoting our indigenous technology so that we will be able to significantly reduce the percentage of our importation.
The federal government has disclosed that the mega transformers it ordered under the Presidential Power Initiative (PPI) have successfully undergone a factory acceptance test. A statement from the Federal Ministry of Power stated that the first batch of the shipments, which are expected to be made from the Siemens Transformers factory in Trento, Italy, will start arriving in Nigeria from September this year. The Managing Director of the Federal Government of Nigeria Power Company FGN Power, Mr. Kenny Anuwe, who led a delegation that included engineers from the Transmission Company of Nigeria TCN, witnessed the factory acceptance test conducted on Thursday in Europe. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, on media, Mr. Issa Sanusi noted that the acceptance test has paved the way for Siemens Energy to start delivering the transformers to Nigeria. The federal government is to maintain zero tolerance to troops' misconduct while embarking on peacekeeping operations under the United Nations Strategic Partnership. Minister of Defense Major General Bashiru Salihi Magashi, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense Dr. Ibrahim Abubakar Kana, MNI, made the declaration during a meeting with the United Nations Peacekeeping Strategic Partnership Delegation led by the Director Major General Jai Menon, retired, in Ship House, Gariki, Abuja, remarked that international partakers in peacekeeping operations have severally attended to the discipline and good conduct of Nigerian troops during such operations. General Magashi, however, noted that the excellent performances of Nigerian contingents in peacekeeping operations around the globe are not without challenges on conducts leading to infractions. General Magashi pointed out further that the armed forces are doing deliberate sensitization of soldiers on the need to observe and respect the dignity of people in whatever circumstances they find themselves. In another development, the Minister of Defense, retired Major General Bashir Magashi, has disclosed at a meeting with the leadership of all cells of veteran associations held at the Federal Ministry of Defense headquarters in Abuja that President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the payment of Security Debarment Allowance (SDA) to the deserving retired military officers and personnel. He explained further that the money is to be paid to those earlier excluded veterans who retired earlier than 9th of November 2017. The defense minister, however, told the elated members of the veteran community that the outstanding SDA allowance will be paid over a period of 3 to 5 years, since government cannot afford to pay in a tranche. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has said that state governments could apply on behalf of their residents and indigents for the houses currently being subscribed to from the National Housing Program across 34 states of the country. Fashola made it known while speaking at the executive session of the 11th meeting at the National Council on Lands, Housing and Urban Development, which took place in Sokoto. The minister at the 5-day event with the theme Housing Our People by All of Government and All Our People explained that the state governments could apply to fund the acquisition of parts of the NHP constructed in their states should they desire to do so, adding that after the acquisition, the state governments could then allocate to interested residents and indigents. The Federal Executive Council (FEC) has approved the development of the Badagry Deep Sea Port on a build, own, operate, transfer, public-private partnership (PPP) arrangement. The Minister of Transportation, Muazu Jaji Sambo, disclosed this during an interview with journalists at the end of the FEC meeting. He explained that the private sector would inject money for the development of the port, and at the end of the concessionary period, the port will revert to the federal government through the Nigerian Ports Authority (NPA), adding that the government was expecting to generate revenue of $53.6 billion over the 45 years concession period.
Private sector will inject money for the development of the port, and at the end of the concessionary period, the port reverts to the federal government of Nigeria through the Nigerian Ports Authority. The project cost, as contained and approved in council based on the final business case as approved by the ICRC, in line with extant laws, stood at $2.59 billion. It is to be developed in 4 phases with milestones, and the concessionary period is 45 years.
The federal government, through the Ministry of Aviation, has invited interested firms and a consortium of firms to participate in the qualification process for the selection of partners through a bidding process for the development of cargo agro-allied terminals across the country. The invitation, which was made known in a statement, is as a result of having identified the development of the cargo agro-allied terminal as one of the priority projects for the renaissance of the aviation sector. The terminal's locations are strategically selected across the country, including Kebbi, Plateau, Katsina, Cross River, Edo, Ondo, and Adamawa State. According to the ministry's statement, the overall objective of the selection process will be the successful procurement of concessionaires technically and financially capable to design, build, finance, operate, maintain, and transfer the terminals within the concession period for the optimal benefit of the country. The Minister of Interior, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, has solicited for understanding and cooperation of Nigerians in the current war against insecurity by the federal government. Aregbesola made the plea on Tuesday while receiving a delegation of the executive members of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations (NIPR) in his office in Abuja, led by its president, Malam Sirajo Mukhtar. The minister expressed the readiness of his ministry to partner and collaborate with the NIPR in sensitizing the public and channeling their energies towards national development in the areas of training of officers and men of the ministry and its agencies on effective communication, public relations, and prompt reportage of the ministry's activities to the general public to sustain its positive image. On his part, the NIPR president commended the minister and his team for their gallant efforts at addressing the current security threats in the country. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, has revealed that voluntary conciliation was adopted to ensure a quick resolution of the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Dr. Ngige disclosed this Tuesday at a 3-day capacity building workshop on international labor standards and dispute resolution in Abuja, organized by the Industrial Arbitration Panel in collaboration with the International Labour Organization, ILO. He, however, recalled that ASU had embarked on strike on February 14 and voluntary conciliation started on March 1. Meanwhile, media report has it that ASU on Monday extended the strike by 8 weeks, saying it took the decision because the federal government failed to address the issues it raised in a 2020 federal government ASU agreement. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Presidential Amnesty Program, and the Niger Delta Development Commission have resolved to tackle the issue of pipeline vandalism and illegal refining activities in the Niger Delta. The minister, who spoke during a visit by the interim administrator of PAP, Colonel Miland Dikio, and PAP officials to his office, all agreed to work in tandem to develop common practical template to tackle the problems in the region, especially oil theft related activities. He further stated that such rescue plan was required because oil theft and pipeline vandalism were undermining the peace and security of the nation. The federal government has pledged that the new established University of Transportation, Daura in Katsina State, will commence academic activities in September 2022. The Minister of Transportation, Mr. Muazu Sambo, disclosed this during an inspection visit to the university on Thursday in Daura. The minister, while inspecting the university project, added that the work, which started a year ago, is now at 60% completion level. In the same vein, the permanent secretary in the ministry, Dr. Magdalene Ajani, said the university, when completed, will be run by the Chinese government for 2 years. And finally, on ministry news, the Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, has hinted that about 80,000 child deaths are reported to be prevented annually when optimal breastfeeding is practiced. The Hanire gave the hint at the ceremony to flag off the week-long celebration of the 2022 World Breastfeeding Week. For over 2 decades, Nigeria has joined the rest of the world to commemorate the World Breastfeeding Week, which is a week-long event for awareness creation and to generate support to improve breastfeeding practices for good health and well-being outcomes on infants, young children, and mothers. Represented by the Minister of State for Health, Joseph Ekumakama, Dr. Hanire stated that the Federal Ministry of Health remains committed to eradicating malnutrition from the country and improving breastfeeding rate, which is a cost-effective means towards achieving this. The theme for this year's celebration is Step Up for Breastfeeding, Educate and Support. From the Presidency captures current news developments and official engagements in the Presidency. Let's keep you posted. President Muhammadu Buhari Thursday in Abuja declared that the rapid integration of solar power into the country's energy mix will lead to an increase in electricity access to underserved and unreserved communities. Receiving a delegation of Sun Africa PLC USA, the president said his administration has embarked on several reforms aimed at revitalizing Nigeria's energy sector, aimed at improving energy access to communities across the country. He commended the interest of the U.S. developer to invest in Nigeria's power sector, pledging that the federal government would remain committed to collaborating with the private sector in improving energy access, creating jobs, and industrial development.
Initiatives like this will go a long way in developing local capacity through technology transfer and relieving transmission constraints through the generation and the distribution of electricity in the local distribution companies. It needs to note the technology transfer content embedded in this initiative, as well as the employment generation potentials.
President Muhammadu Buhari has administered the oath of allegiance and oath of office to 3 new permanent secretaries of the Federal Civil Service. The president performed the ceremony on Wednesday at the council chambers just before the commencement of the weekly Federal Executive Council FEC meeting. The new permanent secretaries are Lydia Shehu Jafia from Adamawa State, Udom Okonkon Ekanem from Akwa Ibom State, and Farouk Yusuf Yabo from Sokoto State. The presidency has confirmed that President Muhammadu Buhari approved the purchase and donation of vehicles worth 1.14 billion naira to neighboring Niger Republic. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, speaking on behalf of the government, told journalists after Wednesday's Federal Executive Council meeting that the donation was to help Niger address its security concerns.
It is important to support your neighbors when you have insecurity. It is also clear that most of the, criminal elements that are within the country are not all Nigerians. And these countries, Niger, Cameroon, and Chad, are our immediate next door neighbors, and over time we support them in manners like this to enhance their capacity to protect our borders.
President Muhammadu Buhari Thursday congratulated 2 of his aides, Saki Haba, Senior Special Assistant on Household and Domestic Matters, and Ambassador Lawal Kazaure, the State Chief of Protocol, on being conferred with the highest civilian national honors in the Niger Republic. The president will receive the awardees when they brought him the certificates and medals of honor. Consider the honor to them as emblematic of the longing-standing mutual friendship between the 2 nations and their people. And finally, from the presidency, President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday condoled with family, friends, associates, as well as the Nigerian police force, mourning the death of former Inspector General of Police Mustapha Balogun. In his condolence message containing a statement signed by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, the president prayed for the peaceful repose of the soul of the departed. The Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, under the able leadership of Professor Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, has unlocked the great economic potentials in the Nigerian communications and digital economic space. In this second part interview with the minister, he spoke on some giant strides of the ministry. Recently, you disclosed that your ministry has generated 1.054 trillion naira as revenue for the federal government in 2 years. And ICT recorded the highest growth rate in the 4th quarter of 2020. Can you shed more light on these very significant achievements?
I think the amount you have mentioned, 1 trillion naira, we have already exceeded that since, even through 5G, we generated for each spectrum over 250 million USD. And all this money will go to government 100%. We don't even return 1%, we only remit to government. And so the ministry and the parastatals have been providing the enabling environment for the sector to be very successful. So there are ways we generate money for government through spectrum, through operational license, assigning numbers to companies, type approval, collecting tax, which is being remitted to FRIS and many more. So these are some of the ways we generate money for government. And this is only generation, not saving. If you talk about saving, we have been saving billions of naira through ICT project clearance. Billions of naira. There was a time that in only one project of a parastatal, we saved over 3 billion naira for government. Only one project. The figure you quoted is for last year, 2021, August. So most probably by August this year time. So my technical team is working on that to compute the total amount. And when it comes to contribution to GDP, with all sense of humility, I'm glad to say that the highest ever contribution of ICT to GDP happens during this administration I serve, and it also happens during my time in office. And the sector recorded the fastest growing time during my time in office. The highest contribution ever of ICT sector to Nigeria's GDP was in the last quarter of 2020. The last ever. This is ICT sector. It contributed around 17.92%. That is unprecedented in the history of Nigeria. And it was the fastest growing sector. And it has been the fastest growing sector. For example, in that year, it was the only sector in Nigeria that grew by double digits. The growth rate was around 14.70%. Based on the report of National Bureau of Statistics, and the report was also confirmed by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari on the 6th of May 2021, that the sector played the principal role of lifting out the country out of a recession. For example, if you look at it, the challenge of recession at that time, there was -6 in oil and gas sector, while the growth rate of this ministry in some quarters was up to 17%. So that complemented the minus or the negative recorded in the oil and gas sector. And we exited recession much, much earlier than the time predicted by the developed countries. They predicted us to exit recession by the end of 2021. Luckily enough, by a year before, by the end of 2020, we exited recession. And with all sense of humility, we are grateful to Nigerians for the support they have been given to us to achieve that.
Honorable Minister, as a strategic agency under your ministry, is it possible for NIMSI to meet 148 million NIN enrollment target by 2024 as being targeted?
Thank you very much. This is a very important question. NIMSI was established 2007, and it was transferred to me for supervision in 2020, meaning 13 years after its establishment. Within that period, the entire database of NIMSI, the enrollment was around 41 million people. From October, that the process of transfer was completely finalized, to end of June this year, 2022, we increased the database to over 85 million people. In less than 2 years, we increased the database by around 44 million people, while previously only 41 was achieved in 13 years. In spite of so many challenges, lack of funding, this is the major challenge. And it's not only to NIMSI. In real sense, if you look at our population and look at our revenue generation, is highly insignificant for our country. That is the reality. It is highly insignificant in our country because we have a huge population and our infrastructure is dilapidated. Almost our roads the same. Even rail line was no more there. Only this administration was able to fix it effectively. So because of this, we have not set up a target of 148 by 2024. However, our plan If we will be able to get more funding for NIMSI, our plan, based on the policies we have in place so far, lately, by the end of 2024, we will have a almost complete database in Nigeria. For example, when NIMSI was transferred to me, they had only 1,600 centers all over the country. But as of today, because of the way we democratize the process and involve private sector into it, we have established over 6,000 centers, rolling centers. Some of them even in diaspora. We have them in London. If you go to countries like the US, we have in Dubai. I was there to even commission the center. So in real sense, we have established many centers. Only what we need is funding. With the funding, we will increase the enrollment process. And we develop some gadgets where we can even move from one house to another to enroll citizens. They don't even need to come out. But the major challenge for now is funding. And it's not only for NIMSI. Government is struggling to pay salary.
This government is going to be rounding up in 2023. As the minister, you have made landmark achievements. Now, what is your word to Nigerians, to stakeholders? What are the futuristic plans within this period and 2023 to round up and solidify the legacies you're going to be leaving behind in this sector?
Thank you very much for this important question. Firstly, under my supervision and the directives given by President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, we have developed around 19 national policies under the ministry, and this is unprecedented. There wasn't any time that even in 4-year tenure that 5 national policies were developed. All of them are being implemented. National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy for Digital Nigeria, Nigerian National Broadband Plan, National Policy for the Promotion of Indigenous Content in the Telecommunications Sector, National Policy on NIN and SIMBA registration, National Policy on the VSAT installation. So there are so many national policies we have developed, and all these policies have been implemented. My target is to ensure that by the end of this year, we have reached an advanced stage of the implementation of these policies. Some of them, all of them, I want us to ensure that we have reached at least 70 to 80% of their total implementation. As it is today, some we have crossed even 90% of the implementation. But all of them, the baseline I have established for each policy by the end of this year is to ensure a minimum of 80% of our total implementation. And this is one thing that is very key and very dear to me. And I do hope that with the support of Nigerians and people like you, my brother, we will create more awareness to our citizens so that they can continue to support our modest effort.
I want to thank you, Honorable Minister, for coming on the program. I want to wish you all the best. And of course, I just wanted to, just a last line before we round up, and that has to do with the national identity card issue. Because Nigerians will not, they will say, you didn't ask this question. So Nigerians are not comfortable with the payment for renewal of card with 5,000 after its expiration in 5 years, expecting that it should be made permanent. Honourable Minister, just summary.
I strongly agree with Nigerians, and I'm of the opinion that national identity card should be permanent. And it's the first question I raised in 2020 when the DG NIMSI visited me when that parastatal was transferred to my supervision. The mistake they made, which brought about expiring date on it, they use a very high quality card. And in that card, you can even use it for withdrawing money internationally. So any card that is being used in bank to get money, it must have an expiry date. So the only way we can avoid that expiry date is to ensure that we only make it a card for national identification. It should not play the role of MasterCard or debit card or any card, so that it will be permanent. And this is our plan. And what is most important, we are not agitating for a physical card now. What is important is the national identity number, not the card. The requirement is the number. If you have the number even saved on your phone, or you have downloaded it on your phone, the soft copy of the card, that is sufficient. because the key requirement is not the card but the number. If you have the number even on a paper, that is sufficient for you. The card is optional.
Professor Isa Ibrahim Pantami, Honorable Minister for Communications and Digital Economy, talking with us on the Ministers platform. We want to thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
The Ministers platform will continue in a moment. Let's now bring you facts you need to know about the National Power Training Institute on our Ministry, Agency and Parastatals in Focus segment. The National Power Training Institute of Nigeria, NAPTIN, is a strategic agency under the Federal Ministry of Power. It was established on March 23, 2009 and commenced full operation in September 2009. The primary purpose for its establishment is to provide training for power sector personnel and coordinate training activities in the sector. In pursuit of this mandate, NAPTIN has taken over the management of existing 7 regional training centers of PHCN. The mission of NAPTIN is to provide skillful workforce and professionals for the power sector through training, research and development in partnership with national and international public and private entities. The objectives of the National Power Training Institute are to create a strong, dynamic and world-class power training institute called NAPTIN, to create a cadre of expert and professional trainers, to develop partnerships, affiliations and linkages with local and international training institutes and universities, to develop a marketing strategy to market the value of training in power utilities in Nigeria. The vision of NAPTIN is to be a center of excellence for human capital development in the power sector. NAPTIN's strategic approach to realizing its objective is to align talented young minds with the industrial world by equipping them with adequate skills through a world-class structured training using up-to-date technology and teaching equipment, and consequently raising a pool of skilled professionals that will contribute to the qualitative growth of the power sector in Nigeria and Africa at large. The faculty chosen for course, module design and delivery is a blend of local and international expert trainers and practitioners. At NAPTIN, the core values are summed up in these 5 values: knowledge and learning, research and innovation, accountability, effective communication, and transparency. The mandate of the National Power Training Institute is to serve as a focal point for human resource development and workforce capacity building, as well as research center in matters relating to power in Nigeria and possibly Africa in general, to offer comprehensive hands-on engineering and technical training programs for professional and graduates in the power sector, to ensure maintenance of industry common standards and dissemination of new ideas and technology to the power industry, to assist in identifying employees' competency gaps and training needs, to provide manpower development advisory support to the power sector industry, and performance culture is instilled and utilized by engineers, technologists, technicians, artisans, and craftsmen through its training throughout the industry in order to enhance efficiency, and finally to design professional certificate programs that will ensure efficiency and global recognition. The National Power Training Institute NAPTIN is under the able leadership of the Director General Ahmed Bolaji Nagode, MCIPM, MNIM. The National Power Training Institute NAPTIN, a center of excellence for human capital development in the power sector.
fact that there are no strict laws that governs or guides tenants.
For like 2 years now, and I have not seen one person ask me to pay 1 year.
I like this city because of the opportunity, job opportunities.
Situation of killing, insecurity in the nation of Nigeria are caused by people who are in position of power in this nation. It is when they believe in God. What they can do right away is that we have been blessed as Holy Land Nation of God. That Holy Land Nation is the one that carried the whole world affairs to move forward.
The insecurity is too alarming, and people, even looking at what the situation of the country, we are not happy. Even me, myself, even my children, where they are, every day we cannot sleep with our 2 eyes. So the government should rise up to the feet, because I don't know what this government is doing right now. The government should know what to do at the right time. It is high time that they should not play politics with the lives of the people. They are playing politics with the life of the people. And that is why the federal government should be able to stand up and defeat these enemies, because they are the enemies of the country. Let's leave all this, we are using religion, Christian, they should not kill. No, they are killing people. Lot of the blood has been splitted. So if you kill, even it is in the Bible, capital punishment, it shall to be applied. So enough is enough. That's what I can say about that.
It's becoming so alarming to the extent that I felt so bad. Every day on the newspaper you will see killing here and there. The only thing they could do is for the federal government to wake up, to battle these terrorists and see how they can get hold of these banditries that are killing all these people. They should know what to do. It's a war on its own. They should go to war and fight them to stop all these terrorists and banditries. Otherwise, the country is under siege. Nowhere is secured again. Abuja is not secure. No place again at all.
I think it is a collective thing, both government and all of us. The security involves everybody. We cannot say it must be government alone. In terms of performance, government has not done so well in that regard. I think what government can do is to be more proactive. I don't think those in charge of security are really, it's like they are paying lip service to the whole situation, and that's why we're having this problem. I think we need to be more sincere. Those in charge of security in the country need to be more sincere than what we are seeing now.
Everything over to God. What we can do, because it's happening, not today, not tomorrow. Many years ago, I will do something, nothing has happened ever since then. It's unfair. I think capital punishment is good for them. It's very, very bad.
The minister's platform is a major determinant factor to appreciate the performance of government at the federal level through the various ministries, their agencies and parastatals. Do care to join us again for another informative package next week. Thanks for watching.